the pub, grab a drink, and shut the door! Step inside, take a seat, yeah, you made it through the door. Welcome to the pub, hear the crowd begin to roar. Laughter loud, drinks are strong, and the takes are bold. Pull up close, you're just in time for the stories to unfold. Raise it up, take a sip, let the chaos begin. You're in the pub now, time to dive right in. Oh, welcome to the pub tonight, where the stories get twisted and the jokes take flight. From the courtroom drama to the YouTube fights, we're breaking it down till it all feels right. Oh, don't blink, don't miss the show. Grab a drink, find a seat, let the good times flow. If it's wild, if it's weird, yeah, you already know. Doc's calling it out, let's go, let's go. Got the panel lit up and the chat on fire. Step up to the bar, takes a climbing higher. From the trolls to the tales that don't quite add up. Better bring receipts or get laughed out the pub. Spit it, flip it, truth gets tested. Half these stories highly questionable. Laugh it off or take a stand. Either way, welcome to the land. Oh, welcome to the pub tonight, where the truth gets sharpened in the spotlight bright. Every rumor, every claim, every online fight, we're tearing it down with a grin and a bite. One more round, here we go. Raise your glass, let the whole world know. Kick it off, turn it up, steal the show. Now, let's get to the story. Duck, 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 duck.
And hello, everybody. Good evening, and I hope everyone's doing well. Real quick programming note for tonight. Killa is not going live tonight. That little annoying thing we call work has made him very busy today. So our programming note for tonight is we will go beyond 8:30 tonight. We may, as probably going as late as 9, maybe a little bit later. So little programming note on that. That being said, Anya is here, and Anya, what did you do today?
Well, hello everyone. Today I went to an open court with our favorite idiot and found out a few things. It was kind of interesting. Actually, it was pretty entertaining. So I started by arriving at Meade County a little early, and believe it or not, Chris was there before the court started, which is like the first time I think I've ever seen that. And I've been to several of his court cases.
That is very, very interesting. Is it sounding like, is it appearing to you maybe he's starting to take this serious?
Yes, especially after today, after the judge had some words with him today. I think he realizes it is very serious.
Okay.
He was sweating a little bit. Now, so whenever I first got there, I got out of the car, and of course that John Crotcher, whatever the hell his name is taking a picture of me as I'm walking in. And because he's sitting at Chris's car, like leaning into the window. I thought they were making out whenever I first got there. But I went inside, just sat down, minding my own business, waiting on the court doors to open. And then Dumb and Dumber and Dumbest walked in, sat down on the other side of the room, and Chris couldn't do it. He couldn't just shut his mouth let me peacefully sit there because I was doing nothing to him.
Mhm.
He makes the comment, I know who can't or who's not supposed to be at court today or who doesn't have court today, and that's Anya Meadows, the fat ass. And I just started laughing. Like, his words really bother me. I'm like, whatever. Sorry, I'm not super skinny for you, idiot. Um, but anyways, then they start, I don't know what they were talking about at first, but then I hear that John guy say she should be at home raising kids. And then he says, oh, wait, she doesn't have any. And I'm like, well, that's weird. I'm like, why do you think I don't have kids? And of course, he didn't answer me. So that was, I think, pretty much all that was said outside. Went inside to the courtroom. And actually, let me tell you about that John guy whenever I went to leave. Then I'll tell you about what happened in the courtroom. So I
Mhm.
went to leave, and John was outside by himself. And I was pulling, like, going to pull out, and I stopped right in front of him, like he was on the sidewalk. And I was genuinely asking him, like, why do you think I don't have kids? Because I know he gets told lies, you
Right.
know? So I was genuinely trying to ask him that question to see what lies they had told him so I could explain myself. Well, he, like, I don't know if the man has like amnesia, if it's just because he's getting older. I don't know. He said, what are you talking about? And I said, well, in there with Chris, you said that I didn't have kids. And I was like, and I'm raising a teenager right now. And he was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Like, literally, like he didn't even know that conversation happened. So that was super weird. So him and I had a few words, and then I went on. I'm like, you're an idiot. He did tell me that he was part of the mafia and the KKK. So I don't know if he was like trying to, intimidate me or what he was trying to do, but that was weird. Um,
That
so
is
I just
very
went on.
weird. That is very
Yeah.
weird. And you're not
hmm
witness to this case at all, are you?
No, not at all. Not at
Okay.
all.
Because that could actually be from
Um,
a witness to intimidation too.
right, right. Yeah, no, I'm not a witness in it at all. Um, oh, and one more thing that they said while they were inside, I forgot about this, was Chris was like, yeah, her restraining order just ended. And I said, I've never had a restraining order against me, Chris. I don't know what you're talking about. And then I looked at that John guy and I said, look it up on the Indiana website and you will see who is lying to you because I've never had a restraining order. And then Chris goes, backpedals and says, well, her husband had one and she's third party. I'm like, that's not how it works. But I mean, there is a third party, obviously, but
Hmm.
that doesn't mean that just because my husband has one that I have to obey, what the court order, because my name's not on that court order. So
Right.
whatever. But he did say that he's putting another restraining order on me and Billy. He's going to try to put another one on us. And I'm like, well, that you can't put another one on me because you've never had one on me. So he said I will be added, kind of like added to the lawsuit. Now I'm going to be added to the restraining order. So there's that.
Right.
Um, so then I go in, go into the courtroom, sit down. The prosecutor was running late, and the judge goes ahead and calls the case. Chris was the only one on the docket. He calls the case. Chris goes up there, and the judge says something about the prosecutor not being here. And Chris said, and I'm sorry if, like, I'm going to get kind of around what he said. It might not be exactly word for word. So I don't want anybody to hear it later and be like, that's not what he said. It's going to be kind of similar to what he said because I don't remember every word. So he said something like, maybe they're not coming because my attorney put in for a change. And the judge was like, well, that doesn't mean that the prosecutor can't come. And the prosecutor showed up. He was he got stuck on a wreck, in a wreck in traffic. So the judge noted that Clay was not there and that the prosecutor has been in person at every hearing. He also said that he does not do criminal court over virtual Zoom. So that's why he's always said for them to be in person. The judge did approve Clay withdrawing, even though Clay wasn't there.
Right.
The judge was not happy today. He let Chris know that he knows what games they were playing with, the delay games. That he, that this case has been going on for like 2 years and nothing has been done with it. And he said, people are getting upset at this court because things aren't getting done. And it's either you don't show up, your attorney doesn't show up, there's always something. And Chris said a couple of times, well, I just trusted my lawyer. And he made it out as he doesn't trust Clay or what Clay had done in the past, because Chris is always the victim. So the judge was he asked Chris if he planned on hiring a lawyer. Chris said yes. The judge asked him where he was in that process, and when Chris found out that Clay was no longer going to be his lawyer, and Chris tried to say, I found out last week when everybody else did. And that judge was like, this was filed in April. So you knew before last week. And, again, Chris is, he knows that he should have already had a lawyer lined up so court can continue, as it should. But he just wanted more time. And the judge basically told him that's not happening. You need to show up here on at first he was going to make him be there this Thursday, as in just a couple more days. And and then the prosecutor was like, in Hardin County, they're giving him until June 2nd. He has to show up with a lawyer then. And the judge said, okay, so June 4th, you need to be here with a lawyer. And so they have continued everything, but they just continued it to the 4th. And he said on the 4th, they will go over the judge recusal that they asked for. They will go over they will set trial dates. They will go over his bond. Is it called ratification? I could be wrong on that word, but because he has broken his bond stipulations. And that is one thing that the prosecutor brought up, was that, he has continued to break the bond, his bond rules. And Chris was like, they're telling lies on me, or they're a liar. And the judge was like, you don't call anybody a liar in my courtroom. He said, you might say that they're mistaken, but you do not call them a liar in my courtroom. I was like, oh. So that will be heard. And then, and I will tell you, there was a court officer that stood next to Chris the whole time that had handcuffs in his hand the whole entire time. So I believe that he was going to go to jail there today. That's just my feeling. That's something I noticed the whole entire time. The man had shackles or handcuffs. I'm not sure which one. They looked really big. In his hand the whole time. So I think that that he was going.
So if T. Clay actually showed up, he would probably have been in jail.
I believe so, yes. And,
Yeah.
a couple of times Chris, made those things. I was just listening to my lawyer. I was just, I trusted my lawyer. And that judge is like, well, he's not your lawyer now.
Right.
I'm like, oh, yeah. The judge was very aggravated with him today and just with the ongoing of this.
Right.
Chris did say something that kind of had the judge like, what? So, Chris and them was trying to get the judge to recuse, and that judge was like, I'm not recusing. Like, there's no reason for me to recuse. Um, and Chris said, well, I was just going by why the other judges recuse. And that judge was like, what reasons do you have? And he said, your close relationship with the clerks and the victims, I think is what he said.
Uh-huh.
And the judge is like, no. He said, I've been doing this, I think he said 25 years. And he said, it's going to take a lot more than that to get me to recuse. And then Chris said, the judge went over the dates of when Chris has to be back and what they were going to do on those. And he asked Chris, he said, is there anything else? And Chris said, well, I think there's a motion. And he went off on all these numbers. And the
Uh-huh.
judge just looked at him and he said, he stopped for a minute and he said, did you turn me in to someone? It was a board of some sort. And I don't
Uh-huh.
think they said the bar, but I
Right.
think it had something to do with the Supreme Court or something. I'm not exactly
Right.
sure.
Yeah. I think that's for the judges. It's the Supreme Court that kind of
Yeah. And Chris was like, I don't know. I didn't. Thomas Clay might have. I don't know. And he said, well, the code that you just gave is when you turn somebody in for this. And you could tell the judge was pretty defensive over that. As I don't know if all the listeners know or not, but every lawyer that Billy and I have ever had,
Mhm.
Tiffany and them have put a bar complaint against. Every single one of them. None
And
of
that
them have
is
ever been found, anything, but they have done that.
right, which makes it proper for them to continue to be your attorneys, because it now appears to be that their reasoning for being your attorneys is for revenge. And this is a game that I think that judges will start seeing, that if there's a judge that's presiding a case that Ryder's involved with, if there's an attorney that is working against, that is for the other side, prosecution, the defendant or the plaintiffs of the case against Ryder, uh, he's going to find ways to get it so jumbled up that
Hmm.
the only way to stop it is for the judge to say, no, I'm not going to recuse myself because you put out a frivolous complaint. With your track
Right.
history, it's going to be, yeah.
Yeah. And
And
that judge told him, he was like, I know what like this isn't my first rodeo. He didn't say those words exactly, but he was like, I've seen this, I've seen what's happening. This case should have already been done.
right,
He did give him a strong warning on the YouTube stuff. And, that's
right,
when Chris called them liars. Um,
uh-huh,
Trying to think of what else. Oh, the judge did have him fill out um, a form for a court appointed attorney just in case he doesn't get one. Um,
okay,
and then he asked Chris, was like, and this was actually after court was over. Um, Chris had said, can I take this with me? And the judge said, no, I want you to fill it out today because I want to be ready at the next hearing. And then Chris was, my personal information, I don't want it to get out. And so the judge was like, we will, put it in under seal, but it's never been under, we've never had to do that, but we will. Um,
mhm,
and then, oh yeah, Chris did say that he is being stalked and that there was a criminal charge by a guy that went to jail uh, for stalking him,
Right.
and that the news said that the victim paid, I think he said $10,000 for this, and the judge was like, okay, he didn't really make a comment on that, but me personally, I'm like, it's because you basically wrote that news story, Chris. You did third party harassment by making this news story and reaching out to the news.
Right.
But
I would, yeah. That's kind of yeah, that's what it appears to be. And seems like Chris should have known to shut the heck up and get his
uh-huh.
ducks in a row for June 4th. Uh,
Yep.
that,
So
okay, okay.
he has court in Hardin on June 2nd. He has court
Uh-huh.
in Meade on June 4th. And
Hmm.
then Tiffany has her hearing for the child support on June 11th. So, just to follow up with where she is and what she has done for child support, and that's June 11th. And all three of those, just if anybody wants to know, they are open courts, so they're open to
Okay.
everybody.
And what that
Yeah.
basically means is you don't need an invitation to show up.
Correct.
Just saying, because apparently that was one of the phrases that they used against Rabbit. He showed up to a court case uninvited. Uh,
Right. Which is
you
weird.
don't
I'm
need
sure
an
that's what he's
invitation to
going
be
to
at open
try.
court.
Right. I mean, court
Yeah,
is it is open forum,
it's an open
or open
forum,
to the
and
public. I'm
here's the
sorry.
thing that this case probably, although it's not directly tied to you, it does affect you greatly because who the person, who uh, the charged person is, and that is Ryder.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and his harassment of you and Billy for years. So when it's him approaching you while you're sitting in the courtroom quietly, not engaging with them, uh, is a form in my mind, a form of intimidation. And he cannot sit there and try to say that you are intimidating him by showing up to court. In fact, many can say that might have witnessed it that maybe his approaching you was intimidating. So,
And I
uh,
will say, just because of the approaching, I don't want him to say that's not how it happened. He did stay on the other side of the room. He just loudly started talking about me and saying those
right,
things. So he didn't come close to me. I don't want, what, I don't want him to say, well, she lied. I didn't
okay,
approach her. But he basically
but
made
still,
first contact with me. You're absolutely right. I just sat there and I have
right.
proof of that. I have that. So if he does try to put a restraining order against me, I will definitely be showing a judge, no, he started this whole conflict, not
Mhm.
me.
Right. And like I said, that you have a right to more. I hate to use the word. I hate to use the word more right. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to. If you can add to the story, I'll be right back.
Okay. So I can't see anybody's comments. So if anybody has questions for me, I'm so sorry. But it was interesting, guys. Like I wanted to chuckle a couple times because um that judge was not taking his shit today. And I do believe the fourth will be interesting. Very, very interesting. And I'm totally not good at this, especially with nobody talking to me. So I'm sorry. I think I'm supposed to say, like, shut up, swag, or something like that. And I hope you guys enjoyed my little preview of what was said today. Like I said, I don't know exact words. I was trying to write some of it down, and then I would miss things as I was writing it down, so I stopped writing. Um, so hopefully you guys get the gist. The judge was not happy, and he has to be back there on the 4th.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. All right.
There was a lot of silence. Sorry.
That's all right. I do express some little bit of concerns about his interaction with you. I think that was wrong, and but the fact that the judge, I think this judge is seeing the game and he's tired of it. And
I think all the judges are getting tired of it, but they want to make sure he has his rights, to have a lawyer present. And I think that's why they gave these next dates. So I'm very hopeful that, the process will start moving because the victims need justice. They have been terrorized, and I know how that feels to be terrorized by them. And I just hope justice is served soon.
I hope so too. All right. So I think we'll thank you for that. This news. I know that a certain channel is planning to play the video. Honestly, I don't think the video really is necessary because what you gave us the gist. You gave us what happened.
Yeah.
And all the video probably would be is 5 minutes of him just getting chewed out.
Yeah.
And, yes. So I'm sure somebody's going to get it, and it's going to be all over the internet. I wish I could get hold of the video myself. It would have been nice, but hey, it is what it is.
Right. Absolutely. But thank you very much for having me up and letting me tell, what happened today from my view.
Yes, appreciate you coming up.
Alrighty. Well, you have a wonderful evening, and everybody out there, like I said, I can't see your chats, but thank you so very much, and you guys all have an awesome evening. And if you're an asshole, just know I hope you have the night that you deserve. And shut up, swag. All right. Bye, guys.
You have a good night. Anya. All right, guys. Thanks to Anya for coming in, and we have a couple people in the basement. Mr. Thomas and Professor Chaos. How you gents doing?
You really need to get this basement fumigated or something, because they had a whole bunch of rats down here.
Well, I'm going to just say this. Last time Swag was down there, and I don't know what he was doing. I think he was passing gas or something, because I tell you, that basement's starting to stink.
Oh, no.
Swag, you got the link, dude, so come on up.
Back in there. It was horrible. I don't think he was just passing the gas. I stepped on it.
I was listening to the whole story that she was telling. It would have been a whole lot easier if they just went in front of Judge Judy and just let Judge Judy holler at them.
Yeah,
it would have been just so easier to let Judge Judy scream at them. It would have been very hilarious, and it probably would have been over.
It probably would have been. But unfortunately, they would have probably filed complaints with the TV Judge Association against Judge Judy if she was presiding over the case. So, yeah. So,
and how you been doing, Professor Chaos, out there in hot Arizona?
Just suffering, getting through the day. My, one break at a time. That was all it was today. Was just getting through the day. It was just hot.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get started with the main course today? This is uh, what we would call the Ape Canyon, the attack at Ape Canyon. Just
Okay.
to kind of, okay, this is a story I wanted to get into last night. We got very, very sidetracked with Todd and his breaking things down. With his breakdown. Uh, but this is an interesting story for me, and just kind of give a gist of it. So back in the 1920s, five prospectors found a site to mine gold in the St. Helen Mountain in Washington State. Their names were Fred Beck, Marion Smith, Roy Smith, Gabe LaFab, and John Peterson. And some records are indicating they probably were mining there off and on for a couple of years. And on their last trip up there, they had just built a brand new cabin for them to stay in. So their plans obviously is to be in that at that mine longer, to mine it longer, do more mining activity, and be there for a while. And they, in July of 1924, Marion Smith and Fred Beck went to go get water. As they're going to get water, they noticed something across the lake that they described as furry, stood almost like a man, like about 7 foot tall. Marion took shots at it. They could see wood hitting the tree because it was hiding behind a tree, and whatever it was ran off. That kind of freaked them out. They told the rest of the party what was going on, and it was kind of late in the day, so they decided, okay, in the morning we're just gonna pack up and go. We're just gonna get out of here. That night, around midnight, they were woken up by yelling, rocks being thrown at the cabin. And when I say rocks, I'm not talking about little tiny slingshot type of rocks. We're talking about boulders, big rocks, good and nice and heavy, being thrown at the cabin. Of course, it's causing damage to the cabin. There was even one instance where they actually, whatever was attacking them actually was able to reach its arm in and grab an axe, and they were able to wrestle the axe away from it and put it into a more center of the cabin, away from the edges, as this attack was going on. When the attack was over, and the very next morning, they just booked. They got out of there. They left.
You mean to they stayed there?
Huh? They stayed there till the morning.
there?
They stayed there till the morning, and they got out. They didn't bother packing their gear. They did not bother. They did not bother putting their stuff away. They didn't bother. They just got what they needed to get the heck out, and they got out. So that would probably be like guns, food, and water, just enough to get them to the safety, and just got away as quickly as possible, leaving everything else behind, including their mining tools. Later, they did come across a ranger station, told the rangers what happened. A few days later, a couple of them returned with the ranger, showed that they did see some damage, that the cabin was damaged. Now, this story is kind of weird. It's kind of scary in one way, but it's down to, did it really happen or not? And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know if the actual attack happened the way they described it, but something definitely had to happen. And let's just kind of look at the facts and logic behind it. If they were not planning to come back to that site, why would they build a cabin? They were planning to be at that site for a while, and probably come back to it many times.
Well, my question is, why didn't they if they was attacked the first time, why didn't they just leave? You don't stay nowhere after
Well,
you attack. You don't stay nowhere
so
overnight.
they there was not attack. What happened was they saw something and they shot at it. They thought they were safe because it ran off, and they decided, well, we'll leave in the morning. Now you have to realize this is out in the mountains, and if it was getting ready to get dark soon, you're not going to go traipsing through the woods in the mountains when it's dark. This is 1924 too, so you're going to stay
Well,
put in your cabin. It's the safest place to
well,
be.
well, I don't know now. You do have some people that's kind of bold enough to go back into the mountains and into the woods
Well, back then
late
that
at
they
night.
certainly no they
Sorry, I had to step away for a moment. My son had an accident.
but poo poo absent or like owie
Number one,
absent.
he has a problem with not stopping the game and pausing and not even going potty. So he lost the game for the rest of the week.
Okay.
Professor KLC, you may have to stop putting gin in his bottle.
Yeah.
But gin and juice, laid back.
Okay, so
Gin and juice.
Robert,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
like I said, the first part of that incident was not an actual attack. It was that
Okay.
they came across something, they shot at it, it ran off. Plus, like I said, you just don't go traipsing through the woods at night. It's just, and if you've never been to Washington State or Oregon State in the mountains, it's kind of hard for a person who never seen it to imagine it. That
Right.
is, yeah, that's one of those things that's not safe to do. And plus, this mountain range had ravines, cliffs, and things like that. That one wrong step, you could be dead because you fell over.
Right.
So
See, but
that is kind of why you stay put. You had the cabin, you're more secure in the cabin. You don't. I mean, if there was something out there,
see,
there's
but
no
the thing,
known creatures. There's no
see,
known creatures out there that could hurt you in the
see, but the
cabin.
thing, see, what the thing is though, you just said that whatever it was throwing like huge boulder-like rocks that are like he was He-Man throwing bricks at people.
Yes,
If
but
you,
I'm talking.
if,
Okay,
but if,
okay. You're assuming that they knew that about these creatures that
no, I'm not saying that
was
they knew
attacking,
about it. I'm not saying that they knew
but
about it. I'm just going by the
but they
story that
did.
you was telling.
Yeah,
You
but
just
they
seen
did.
this.
But
They seen something.
the safest thing to do is not to go into the woods at when it's dark, especially
Right.
especially the mountains when it's got cliffs and cliffhangers and that kind of thing. You
But let me
can
ask you.
fall. It's
But let me
dangerous.
ask you this. Let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. Okay, they was a after that. They whatever it was. Let's just say whatever it was a came back late on at night and was throwing boulders whatever and attacked them. They
Uh-huh.
don't know what it was. Let's just
Right.
say, let's just switch the situation a little bit. Let's just say you, Doc, you know, sober Doc, moved into a
Hmm.
haunted house and you heard a voice say, "Get the hell out." Are you staying there or are you gonna risk?
Okay. Okay.
Are
See,
you
see,
staying? Are you
you're
leaving or are
comparing
you gonna stay
apples.
there?
You're comparing apples to oranges.
Can it be
Okay.
grapes to stay?
The thing that you got to realize, the danger was not in the cabin; it was outside the cabin. Plus, it was dark. It was it was in the forest in uh, on a mountain with cliffs, with ravines, things that if you don't if you not see you can't see what you're going, you can easily fall and die just trying to escape. The safest place at that moment when it's dark is to be in the cabin because there it does provide some protection. The only reason
Okay.
they did not, the only reason if this attack was real, they did not get killed was because the creatures could not get to them.
Okay, but why not leave when daylight comes?
They did. As soon as morning came, they got out. That's kind of why I said they got out as soon as they could. They didn't even pack anything. They just They just got what they needed to get away, and they got away.
Okay.
As soon as the sun was up, they're gone. So they just could not leave at that moment when they took the shots at the first creature, because it was
Don't you
getting to be
think?
dark soon.
Don't you think that may have started it right there when they shot at the creature, and
That is what
maybe the creature,
the
maybe
story implies. That was what the story implies, that when
I mean,
one of the men took a shot at the creature, that it alienated the others.
the maybe whatever the creature, the Bigfoot, the Yeti, whatever, was probably was just observing them, seeing was there any danger. But as soon as
Right.
who was it? The lady pulled her gun out and fired at it. Oh, it was
Well, it
game
was
on.
not like it was 5 men. It was 5 men.
Okay, 5 men
Okay.
that pulled their pew pews out and fired at them. Then it was game on.
Yeah, we're not even going to argue that. I do believe that is very possible. That once the shots were fired, that is what triggered the whole thing. But that's, we have no way of knowing for sure. Okay.
Right.
And let's keep in mind, we are not 100% certain that the story that they describe is the story that actually occurred. I do like, and that's kind of goes back to what I'm talking about here. We what would make men that their mind was producing, it was producing a lot of gold. What would lead them to abandon the cabin that they just built? This is a brand new built cabin. This is not a cabin that they had for 2 or 3 years and then suddenly they left it, which indicates to me they're planning to be at this mine for a while. They're planning to come back to this mine for a while. They didn't just stay there and prospect. They would prospect for a little period of time because initially they were intense and that kind of thing. They would prospect a little bit and then bring back their loot, stay home for a little bit, and then come back. And then they and then they built themselves a cabin as they were doing prospect, because now they're planning, okay, we'll prospect longer, bring the loot down, and come back more often. And suddenly, the first time that they're using the cabin, they're coming back early and they're not going back, which indicates to me something definitely did happen. But what was it? What really happened? So to kind of go there, to kind of explain these things, let's do this. Let's kind of get our geography, understanding what our geography looks like. So let me share some pictures here. All right, let's see if I can maximize this a little bit better so everyone can see it, and zoom in some more. Can I zoom in? Well, no, I cannot zoom in. Okay, so right over here, let me do this. Right here, down here is Ape Canyon. Now, that where my magnifying glasses is Ape Canyon.
And this is in Washington State.
This is Washington State. This here is Spirit Lake. I want you also to note that there's a Boy Scout camp right here. Okay, that's important. Ape Canyon down here, Boy Scout camp right here, Spirit Lake. One of these stories that came out that might have been people that thought it was hoax, honestly thought that the Boy Scout camp right here, and of course you can see there's a YMCA camp right there too, but the Boy Scout camp right here is Boy Scouts from that camp showed up and harassed them. Now that camp is like 25 miles from Ape Canyon. Ape Canyon is not easy to get to, so very difficult for 25-year-olds for those kids to get to it. Guys, I'm going to step away for a moment. I'm going to play some music, and I'll be right back. Okay.
Raise 'em high. Let 'em fly. One quick swing and a lot of noise. Then they're buying rounds like proper boys. And the girls all dance when the fiddles play. Hair flying wild and the candles sway. And I just grin as I wipe the bar. 'Cause nights like this are the best by far. Hey! Ho! Raise 'em high! Let 'em flow! Now troubles don't walk through my door. They're left outside on the tavern floor. For laughter's loud and the hearts are free. That's the way a good night ought to be. And Doc just smiles and lifts his glass, saying these are the nights that always last.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but before we get back to to the subject at hand, can I make a little observation about your bartender?
Go for it.
Have anybody ever noticed that she's like a little bit well endowed on the top of her body?
Well, I mean,
No, I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice
Have
that.
you- no, you mean to tell me nobody noticed that?
I didn't notice that. Okay.
I
All
mean,
right.
you couldn't help but see that. It's just in your face.
Well, I mean, hey, that's up to. I mean, if that's what you notice, so that's what you notice. Okay, so as I was saying before, I do apologize. I had to jump up as quickly as possible to do
I
something
was
real
just
quick.
saying.
Yeah. So Ape Canyon is right here. If you can see my cursor, Boy Scout camp right here. And like I said, one of the popular hoax people that thought was why some people thought it was a hoax was that they knew there was a Boy Scout camp somewhere in the area where these guys were. But Ape Canyon and Boy Scout camp was like 25 miles away.
Okay.
And we're not talking about 25 easy miles. They are 25 hard to get to miles. Woods, no paths, no trails. Plus, you got a lake between the two. You would have to either go around the lake or go over the lake to get down toward Ape Canyon. So, I mean, the Boy Scouts would have to. They would have to really be. Well, I don't see them possibly getting to the to that campsite, to the prospectors camp's cabin and harass them.
So are you saying that I'm just speculating, thinking I'm probably gonna do what you're going by. Are you saying that these Boy Scouts could have planned this or either harassed them? I mean, where would
No.
they find a 7 foot tall man to put in a suit?
Well, okay. First of all, you're assuming that the prospectors' information is accurate and it wasn't extracted. It was not. Inflated. Their stories weren't inflated. You're
Okay.
assuming that. Okay. Second, no, I don't think the Boy Scouts did it. It's too far away. If the camp was sitting like here's the Boy Scout camp, and there was like this right here was where the mine was, maybe that's a couple miles of hiking. Boy Scouts have already done that and do their little thing and harass them. But no, this is where it was at. It was 25 hard miles. I don't think they could get there. Not in the time frame that they would have to get over there and harass them. That's just not possible. Not in my mind. So no, I don't think that it was the Boy Scouts. Now, I came across one story that created a theory in my mind. If the story was not accurate, in other words, if they were not attacked by 7 foot tall or taller creatures, what else could it be? First of all, I don't think they would be. Could they just made up the story because they felt they needed to leave for a reason, and they were planning to go back, and they didn't want people to show up to the mine and start stealing their gold. I think that's a possibility. That came across mine. You come up with some outrageous story, and that would keep people away. However,
Well, can
they
I
never
address?
returned back, but they did never return to the mine. So I
But
don't think that.
can I address that part? Okay,
Yeah.
let's just say if they did, make this up. Let's just say if they did make that story up, so
Mhm.
people won't go into the mine. But you have to forget, this is 1924.
Right.
Maybe they could go out there look for whatever it was to make sure that it don't come back.
Well,
Times have changed from 1924. It's been almost 100 and some odd
right.
years.
Well, I mean, that's
So
kind. Well, I'm throwing this
things have
theory out
changed.
there. I'm throwing this theory out there but I'm dismissing that theory too, because the biggest reason that that I would say that's false is the prospectors themselves never returned to the mine, except maybe showing reporters what happened, or showing the rangers, and that was only a couple of them that did it, not all five. So it was one of those things that no, they never returned to it. So I don't think it's that. I can see. Okay, good question, Dove. That 1924, July 1924 was when it occurred. So over 100 years ago. So no, I don't think they that I dismissed that story, that idea immediately, because they never returned. Another idea that came to my mind was, and this one is very interesting because I never heard this theory, but this is something I came up with in my mind. There's a legend about a tribe of Indians in the area that was probably more primitive than the rest of Native Americans that was in the area. That and the legends had it that they were taller, but probably not 7 foot tall. I think that might have been an exaggeration on the part of the prospectors. They can be more aggressive if they felt like they were attacked, which they being shot at. I would feel that would make them feel attacked. And I could see them either being very, very hairy, or or a combination of being hairy for a man, hairy men. We have men that can be hairy, and wearing like pelts, deer pelts, bear pelts, that kind of thing, that might make it look like they're furry creatures. That theory, there's no one else I've heard of this, but my theory would be, is it possible that there's some truth behind this story about this tribe of Native Americans that they shot at, and
This
were attacked by these Native Americans? Possibility
this,
again.
this sounds like the Swamp Man story, like here in the Everglades of
Well,
Florida.
that would be the skunk ape. Could
Yeah.
it be that prospectors didn't find? Okay, let me go back over to the comments so I can put that back. Could it be that the prospectors didn't find anything while mining and didn't want to return it to Henry, so they invented the story? No, actually, Magdy 5, they did have reports that there was gold in their mind, and they were very excited about it. And in fact, there had been comments about them not wanting to leave that mine because they knew that they were going to make some money off of it.
So in other words, they could have made up a story just to keep other people away.
That was a theory that I kind of thought about, and I dismissed it because they never returned to the mine after this point. If that was true, it would make sense that after 6 months or so, or maybe the following spring, that they showed back up. But they did not. They never showed back up. Like I said, two of them returned with reporters and rangers. Everyone else stayed away. So there was something that did happen. Another theory I did that some people suggested, and I kind of can see this one being feasible too, was that they were scared off by bandits, people that were going to steal from them. And the best way to keep people from returning, keep the prospectors away from them, to scare them to death, but let them leave, and when I say scare them to death, maybe threaten them, saying, if you talk, we're going to go after your family, that kind of thing. But the reason why they let them leave is because if you do something and people say, "Hey, we hadn't seen Fred for several weeks. I know he went up to his prospector camp. They should have been back by now." They would send rangers that way. They would send the park rangers to go look and see what's going on. And if something happened up there, that might trigger a response of some kind, especially to the people who are still there mining, stealing the gold. I think that's a very possibility that they were intimidated and they came up with an elaborate story to hopefully buy them, to throw off that idea to protect their families. That was very possible. But I do believe that something definitely did happen that night to make them want to leave and leave in a hurry. Whereas the way they described their story to be accurate by 100%, or if it was the bandit story or something else, yes. Now, I don't think it was the Boy Scouts doing something as a hoax. I don't, like I said, it's just they were too.
You know what? I don't think the Boy Scouts.
I heard stories similar to that too. I heard stories similar to that. So I don't think it's the Boy Scouts though.
I don't think the Boy Scouts was that capable of pulling something like that off in the year of 1924. Maybe 2024, but not 1924.
Actually, I think they're capable of doing it. I just don't think they're physically able to do it. Because they, like I said, the distance. Yes, you'd be surprised what teenagers were up to in 1924. They were a little bit wild back then.
Well, I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't know if we have to ask David E. Persons. I'm like, he was just in his mid-30s in 1924.
You just imagine a bunch of boys out in the woods, and they realize that they can really harass some people. Yeah, they would probably do it. Well, no, there's no problem. They'll do it. Boys have not really changed that much. It's just the means has changed. The means has changed. In this situation, they would have to hike, and the hike itself is what I say keeps it from happening. I don't think it's the kids from 1924 were good little kids.
But did you just say that? Did you just say boys from 1924 is probably like they're different from today? Have you seen the children of today?
I'm just saying that you put a child of today, and they would get into similar trouble of a kid from 1924. The difference is technology has changed. I just think that yes, the kids today, you hear more about the trouble because of technology. And I think there's a lot of changes today because of that. But we're not talking about kids living on the street. We are talking about kids at a camp that might have been looking for mischief. And now, if Boy Scouts were going to do something mischievous, they would go to the YMCA camp that's over next to them and harass those folks. And there's also a mine that's closer called Sweden Mine that they could probably harass those folks. And there's another mine that was closer called Laneau mine that they could harass. So all those, and then there's a church camp over off the lake. They could take in a boat and go over there and harass them. Too many targets, very very close to their Boy Scout camp, where they could do that, and that's probably where some of that theory came from because they did it to the other camps. But Ape Canyon, again, Ape Canyon is right here. So along this canyon right here, where my cursor's at, is where that camp was set up. And here's the Boy Scout camp right up here, right off Spirit Lake. And again, I'm stressing where my cursor's at. You can see my cursor, right?
Just a little, but not much. I can see it now when you move it.
Yeah. So right here is the Boy Scout camp. Down here is Ape Canyon. And again, people were saying it's 25 miles straight shot. And if you're in the woods, you're not going straight shot. You're going around things and that kind of stuff. So it's probably actually longer than that to get to it from the Boy Scout camp. Keep in mind, they
So,
also, unless they got a boat, they would have to go around one way or
so what?
another to
So,
to get there.
so, so, what is it like today? Is it still, right now? Is it easier to get to that campsite from where the Boy Scouts was, or is it,
Well,
harder?
first of all, that Ape Canyon, things have changed to Mount St. Helens. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is a pre-nut. Let me share this tab. So this is a pre-1980 picture of Mount St. Helena. In 1980, there was an eruption at Mount St. Helena. For the longest time, it was a dormant volcano. Many
Hmm.
people didn't realize it was a volcano. This is what it looks like today.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is what it looks like today.
It looked sort of almost. It looked like two volcanoes now.
Basically, the top's gone. This is the way it looks like today, and this is the way it looked before 1980. You can see that there's a point here.
Yeah, I see the
And
point.
yeah, and here, gone, just gone because of the eruption.
Yeah. How long did it erupt in 1980?
I didn't go into that much into details because of just because I was focusing on the story, but I think that was kind of one of those things that let me point out. The mountain has changed since 1924. And the mountain's changed so much that although some people have actually found where that mine was, the cabin, of course, has been long gone since then. Any and all physical evidence is long gone. They have found some of the tools since then. So there was a prospector mine. There was a cabin. What happened that night? Only those men. There's the men's stories matched. They didn't have. There wasn't any variation. It was one of those stories that if they made it up, why did they make it up? Or if it wasn't made up, could it have been something else? In fact, in 1967, if I remember correctly, this gentleman right here, his name is Fred Beck.
I can't see him.
Yeah, sorry. Let me see if I can zoom in on this picture. No, I cannot. It's very. That's about circa mid 1960s. That's roughly when he's around 80. Uh,
Okay, I can see him. I made my
okay.
screen large. Yeah, I can see him
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So circa 19. So he's around 80 years old, older. He wrote a 22-page pamphlet or little booklet about what happened. Now, Fred Beck was an interesting character in himself because they describe him as a spiritualist. He actually thought maybe the creatures that attacked him may not necessarily been of this earth, in a sense that they came from another dimension, which is kind of an interesting thing from someone that might have been around in 1924, excuse me. And if you really think about this is a guy that if you heard some of the way he described things, you did question his grasp to reality. They said that part one of the stories that's out there was how they found that particular spot, and the way they described it sounded like a spirit guide took Fred Beck to it by following an arrow. A spirit guide told him, follow. There will be an arrow. Follow the arrow. You get to your gold, but it's not your gold.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. So
The spirit guide told him to follow the arrow to the goal, but it's not your goal.
yeah, the gold does not belong to you. You'll get to the gold, but the gold does not belong to you. That's one of the little things that I heard, that I read. So you got the arrow. They did see an arrow in the sky, and it did take them down the river, down up to the canyon, got to a particular spot, and then went straight down into the ground, and that's where they started their prospecting, and they did find gold. So
Yeah, but it wasn't theirs. I guess the
it
spirit
wasn't,
guide told them it wasn't theirs.
and yeah, and that's kind of what Fred was saying too, was because there were members in their party that did not have the same spiritual beliefs.
They really would
They
have hawked me off right there.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
because how you gonna lead me somewhere and say there's gold there, but it's not yours, you can't take it? I'm like, well, you can't
uh,
lead me there then, because I'm gonna take it.
yeah, right. And that's what one of Fred Beck's stories is, that beliefs that was that because the men did not, everyone else in the party did not have the same spiritual beliefs that he had. That's why they were attacked. Again, I think my theory is they were attacked because someone took shots at them,
Mm-hmm.
at the creatures. I think all the creatures were doing was just watching them, and while they were
Yeah, that's
around,
all.
and that's kind of what a lot of the legends of Sasquatch in the mountains of Oregon and Washington State has been mostly, was that the Sasquatch would watch it, and
They were
if they
just
wanted someone to
observing.
leave, yeah, and if they wanted someone to leave an area, yes, they would chase, but they would never catch up with the person. They would just chase them out, herd them out of the area. Once they're out of the area, they would leave them alone.
Yeah, they just want them out their territory. That's basically what it was. Maybe that's
Yeah,
what happened in 1924. Like I said, maybe whatever was in the woods was just observing them. It didn't start until they fired a shot at them.
right. I do
I'm
believe
just
that.
saying. I'm
I
just
do
saying from my
believe.
point of view.
I do believe if this was truly a Sasquatch, the Sasquatch would not have attacked if they did not take a shot.
I mean, then again, who could throw big boulder-like rocks at you?
Again, and again, we're basing this upon 5 men who, nighttime, they said they could see something, but stories could have been just exaggerated because they were scared. They didn't know what they were dealing with. Uh, so it's just I don't want to say 100% that this was Bigfoot. This is definitely a Sasquatch story,
Mm-hmm.
but I will say that that something definitely did happen that night. There had to been. Everything indicated they were going to be there for a little bit. Something scared them. Was it Sasquatch? Possibly. Was it a bunch of bandits? Possibly. Was it Boy Scouts? Highly doubtful. So, was it maybe some other set of camp? I mean, like I said, I think it could have been possibly bandits. Could have been possibly Native Americans that was in the area. Possibly. So,
Yeah, it could be, but I don't think Native Americans throwing boulders at you.
and again, you're looking at it like as if everything that these guys were saying were 100% truthful. I'm
Yeah,
not
no,
saying that they were knowingly lying. I'm just saying that maybe there was some exaggerations. Maybe that what was being thrown at them was not as big as they thought it was. Uh, uh, so that's one of those things that again, if you take the story as it's told, then it's Sasquatch. If you take the story and say, okay, are there elements of the story that could be exaggerated upon? Yes. So it could have been Sasquatch, or it could have been something else. Could have been the Boy Scouts, as I said before. Highly, highly doubtful.
right, yeah,
Yeah. So
it's highly doubtful. But like I said, I don't think during 1924 the Boy Scouts was able to pull something like that off. I don't think people was able to think like will think like that, especially young teenagers of not
Right.
1924. 2024, yes, but 1924.
Oh, I'm telling you, if they were closer, I would say that would have been a very possible theory. They were not close enough because
And yeah, that's 24 miles. I don't think they're gonna walk 24 miles just to do something like that.
no, no. Well, I'm kind of curious. Indy 14, what kind of policy violations are we talking about here? So yeah, I don't think it is. Yeah, it's the distance. It's the distance, and we're not. And they would have to walk there. Now, yes, in 2024, if there was a path that they could get in a car and drive it, yeah, okay, I wouldn't argue that. 1924, they
Yeah,
would not have a car. They would not have a car. They would have to hike it. Yes, cars were around back in 1924, but teenagers would not have it at a camp. And plus, roads were non-existent.
well, you have to realize this was a mountain, so a lot of people, they probably had their stuff on back of jackasses
Yeah,
going
well,
up the
yeah,
mountain.
that was probably what the prospectors did. They carried a lot of their stuff on their backs and on a couple jackasses. So, yeah,
I mean, I'm just saying. That's just from the story that you told, what you just told us. That's just what my point of view is. I'm like,
okay, it looks
there's a
like
lot. There's a lot of things that could have happened.
ooh, really, Twiggy, interesting, very interesting. GS was shut down. I wonder why. I wonder why. We won't never know why unless he tells us. Because if he got shut down, he would got an email from YouTube.
Or maybe
Interesting.
he did something. Maybe he did something stupid against YouTube's terms of policies.
That's why. Yeah, I was kind of looking at the banter a little bit, and I saw someone saying something about policy violation. I'm like, what? Us talking about Bigfoot's a policy violation? What?
No,
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. Well, it
Talking
wasn't a
about
policy violation. Yeah, I don't think it was a policy violation from uh,
did we lose Professor
from
Chaos?
us.
He's been kind of quiet.
No,
Uh,
I've been here. I've been listening.
Professor Chaos is getting interested. Yeah.
I don't know.
There's
He
We don't
probably
have
busy
that kind of
taking.
thing up in Arizona. I mean, we got some forests. I grew up in a national forest myself. I grew up in the Coronado National Forest.
uh-huh.
Basically, my family actually built the campgrounds up there on the mountain when it was turned over by the mining company back in
Right.
the early 80s or so. So, I mean, I grew up in the woods listening to sounds and like I heard a few anomalies, sure, but usually I was able to hike there the next day and see, okay, well, it looks like this boulder came loose or, the things that
Well,
I experienced, I was able to easily debunk and explain. I don't know if
well,
Bigfoot gets around Arizona. Might be too hot for
well,
me.
well, the part of the country that you in, y'all must have deal with what chupacabras and skinwalkers.
Yes, you gotta watch out for things that don't appear as they are. There are a few times where it's like people have seen. You may have seen a few videos online that some people, I don't know if one or two of them are fake, but one of them looks pretty real. Where it's the guy, he tells his dog to sit down. The dog looks at him and all of a sudden sits down. He's like, that dog has never listened to me a day in his life. Like, what is going on? Or they'll knock on like they'll go to let their pet in and they'll think, oh, okay, I'll go let my pet in, and then but like right when they're turning the handle, the scratching on the
Mhm.
door stops and they look down and their dog's behind them. And it's like, wait a minute. But yes,
Yeah,
you gotta watch.
that's kind of you know eerie.
Well, I do have a respect for it. I was raised part Cherokee. I am 132nd Cherokee Indian, so I do have a respect for the woods and the nature. So you don't go out at certain times, you don't do certain things, you don't run off
Right.
into the woods. It's just
Right.
rules that carry over, even if it's not necessarily Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, Yahweh, whoever it is out there, the skunk ape, which a lot of people argue are the similar offshoots of the same.
I
Of
would
the
say
same
so too. I would say that they are the same thing. It's just that the different region has a different name for them.
That's it.
And you know what? And you know what? I have a good respect for that also because I'm not going in the woods after dark anyway, and I'm not going in the park after dark if you want to get robbed. But
Well, I'll correct
Well,
myself.
that
The
that
only
that,
way
that
to
was the
hear
kind
people
of,
up in the woods after
yeah,
dark
that was
is
kind of,
for catfish.
yeah,
Catfishing.
and that was kind of, and that's kind of the point I was making earlier is that the safest thing for those men to do after they saw that creature, took shots at it, was to stay in the cabin because it was getting ready to get dark. They would be more exposed in the dark if they were trying to walk their way back down. And you got to keep in mind there were no trails. There was nothing. They would have to use maps and compass to navigate themselves back out. If they had done that, they probably would have at best got lost and never been seen from the. They would die of natural causes out, or out in the wilderness. At worst, died because they fell off a ravine or something attacked them. So, yeah, they needed to stay put until they could safely get back to civilization.
Nature gives you signs.
Yeah.
Cherokee Reservation in North Carolina. I haven't been there yet. I've contacted the Cherokee Nation, and they politely let me know that although my heritage is appreciated, they don't have any interest in sponsoring my 3D endeavors. But
Okay.
no,
wow.
eventually I do plan to get out there.
Well, yeah, I've been to Cherokee, North Carolina myself, so it's a very beautiful area, very beautiful, worth a visit in my mind. Another place worth a visit in North Carolina mountains is the Lake Lure. Very nice area. Almost every state in the country has a Bigfoot sighting, even Hawaii, and that's kind of one of those interesting things too. I think if I remember correctly, Hawaii does have a Bigfoot sighting. I have to double check that. I'll double check this before the next live stream. But guys, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night because I think a lot of people are going over to Secret. Apparently, she is showing restreaming Todd's live stream with the court case, and I'm going to wrap things up here. Get ready to go to bed. I think, this is one. Like I said, this is another story. If you guys like this content, let me know because I'll do more stories like this. Because this is kind of, it's nice to take a break from the drama, from the Jerry Springer YouTube type stuff. I call it the Timu Jerry Springer.
I've got some great ideas that you can have, Doc. I got some stories of some mysteries like the Yuba County Five. I've got, we could talk about the Outlaw Pass. We could talk about.
I would love to spend a live stream talking about Billy the Kid.
We could talk about Billy the Kid. We could talk about Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp and the brothers.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk about all kinds of stuff.
Oh yes, our country's got some very interesting stories, and like I said, this is one of those stories that I always liked, and sometimes it's just nice to take that break away from this drama.
Amen.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and call it the night. I know I said I was going to keep going to 9 o'clock, but there's some things that came up that I do need to go tend to.
His cats came and got him.
Yeah, let me see if I can find Secret's live stream and just kind of send everyone over that way.
So, Professor Chaos, let me ask you this: when you mentioned those, are you talking about like Tombstone?
Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday those are Tombstone, yes.
Tombstone, Arizona.
Tombstone, Arizona. Yes, sir. Back where men were men, and they still have the wooden sidewalks, and they do Hell Dorado days where it's like reenactors and stuff. It's fun.
Yeah. Give me a second. I'm just sitting. I'm just setting this up real quick. To send people over.
I don't know what they too much do here in the South unless you want to see people reenact the Civil War. But that's all, up and down the Appalachian. So
there was one Civil War battle in Arizona, the Battle of Picacho Peak.
See, people don't hear about that because they mostly think that the Battle of the Civil War happened
Oh,
mostly on the east
I
side of the United
cannot
States.
send you. I cannot send people to that channel. She has not set that up. So we'll have to show her how to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the chat. So just click on the link, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the end stream. Here shortly. I'm going to hit the end stream. So that's in the link is in chat, and I don't know when I'm going to do this again. Maybe Thursday night, not tomorrow night. Definitely not Wednesday night. So Thursday night, and definitely a live stream on Saturday. I got an idea for Saturday. I'm hoping that the arrangements I'm making now will work out. More will come about that later. So,
But the
Robert, you
question
got
of
anything?
where happened to Swag? Is he hiding from us?
I think he might be dealing with the court case itself,
Gotcha.
the one from today. It's my guess. And Professor Chaos, you got anything you want to plug?
Nope. Be good to one another. Have a good days. Think fond thoughts of the ones you love. Even wish your enemies the best and that they can do, and just enjoy your lives.
And okay, and guys, I put the link in the chat. Go over there and tell them that I sent you. And so until next time, take care of yourself. Just kind of pay attention. I will let you know when my next live stream. At worst case scenario, it'll be Saturday, but I'm pretty sure I will do one on Thursday. Everyone have a good night.
Good night.
Come on.
Finish your dram, mind yourself on the way out, and until next time, take care of yourself.
Well, the night's grown quiet, the story's all told. The fire's burning down to embers and gold. Your glass is near empty, your laughter still rings from the jokes and the truth and the wild little things. We sang for the fighters, we laughed at the fools. We bend just a bit, but we don't break the rules. From tall tales to truths that cut clean to the bone. You were never quite here, but never alone. So raise up your glass, let the good times stay close to the friends that you've made and the ones you need most. When the lights all go dim and the last call's in sight, we'll be waiting right here for another good night. Now Doc's told his stories, the truth's had its say, and the world can go spin just a little its way. From madness to meaning, from chaos to cheer, there's always a seed and a story right here. So wherever you wander, wherever you roam, may you find a good fire and call it your home. And remember these words as you walk out the door. Until next time, take care of yourself. So raise up your glass, don't be facing the night with a heart that's too heavy or dimming your light. 'Cause the stories ain't over, they're just getting rest, and the next one might just be the bar. Off with you now! Don't be strangers! We'll keep the fire warm! So raise up your glass, let the good times stay close to the friends that you've made and the ones you need most. When the lights all go dim and the last call's in sight, we'll be waiting right here for another night.
Big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.